Mother's Day. Shout out to all the mothers on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I know it has been a while, but we appreciate all of you for everything that you have done, all the sacrifices you have given. So we appreciate all the mothers on Mother's Day. Shout out to you guys. I know it's been a minute. It has been a minute. I want to cover a couple things today, but first off, I'm glad to talk to you guys and be back live. It's been a little while. Been a little while as we get back to it. Shedeur Sanders hype. Derek Carr retires, and of course, is Trevor Lawrence underrated? These are the kind of questions that I've been thinking about that I wanted to create a couple videos for. I've been doing a couple things as far as changing things up, as far as content and things like that. I'm sure you guys just seen the Gabe Davis video. If you haven't, go check that out. You'll see what I'm talking about. I've been changing up a couple things as far as how I'm going to do content now. I think it's a pretty good thing, right? It's a pretty good thing, pretty good ideas for you guys as far as moving forward, that I'm going to be able to produce more content, which will be good because, hey, I can pump out, 8-minute videos when I'm just getting through my work and stuff like that, handling my business. And then, before football season comes, that'll kind of keep everything going on the football side. So I'm figuring that out. Trent, what up, man? Shout out to you. What up, what up? Shout out to Jeff. Good to see you. Good to see you. It says, Jay, I got a new phone yesterday. My birthday is Tuesday. Happy birthday, Trent. Shout out to you, man. Let's go. So yeah, as far as content goes, like I said, I'm going to start pumping out, stuff like that. And if you haven't seen the Gabe Davis video, go check it out. Let me know what you think. Speaking of Gabe Davis, before I get into the other stuff, people have really, really been, I don't know, not like upset about this. Oh, Gabe Davis, he sucks. He doesn't need to come back to Buffalo. Listen, I get it. I don't think he was as productive as even I wanted him to be, but I think the reality is he does have talent. I don't think he was utilized to his full potential. And so, to be honest, I think him coming back to the Bills would be a redemption type situation, which could be very good. I mean, I really didn't see Curtis Samuel doing too much, and people are okay with him being on the team. KJ Hamler really hasn't been as productive as he should have been in his career, and people are okay with potentially him being on the team. Laviska Shenault, I mean, I can keep going down the list here. Obviously, Keon Coleman's a rookie, so, we're expecting him to, mold into that situation and, pick up the pace as far as with Josh Allen. Sure, we all know what Khalil Shakir is, right? We understand that. Joshua Palmer coming over from the Chargers. We'll have to see how that goes. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that are up in the air, and there's a lot of question marks when it comes to the wide receiver core as far as in Buffalo. But I don't think having Gabe Davis, someone who's actually had a relationship with Josh Allen and had chemistry with Josh Allen, coming over and helping out that wide receiver group, even if he's just there to mentor the younger guys and, provide support. And, if something happens to somebody, maybe he could come out there, make something happen. I don't think it hurts. You give him a, veterans minimum, and you see how it goes. See how it goes. Lisa says, hey, Jay, no chemo last Monday because we had no water. It's not good. No water. Shout out to you, Lisa. Good to see you. I hope everything is going okay. Batman is cool. Says Cleveland should have kept the second pick and get Travis Hunter. Speaking of Cleveland, let's go ahead and get into Sheduer. I've been kind of waiting to talk about Sheduer. I've been kind of waiting to, get into it as far as, the whole Sanders hype train and the whole ordeal as far as, with Sheduer and his brother and Dion and all that. I think for me, I wanna really, really wait until I give my expectations and my true thoughts, because I feel like there's so much hype, there's so much negativity, and there's so much BS that comes into, the Sanders name, that it's kind of going to overshadow the whole situation until we get into the season anyways. And, that's, I think, to me, looking at Cleveland as far as the situation for that team, the Browns are just in shambles from top to bottom anyways. So, yeah, I guess you give Sanders an opportunity, right? But at what cost? Because we know that Sanders is going to bring in the ratings, and he's going to bring in the views, and everyone's going to be watching Cleveland because of that decision. But at the same time, you really can't trust Shedeur to get out there and really do much yet because, yeah, he's a rookie. He's going to have to adjust to the game. And you got a lot of stuff going on with the Browns right now as far as figuring out who's going to do what from, the wide receiver group, the defense right now. You guys almost lost Miles. So there's a lot going on with the Browns. And so I think that the Sanders situation is just clouding that whole thing even more than what it already has been. There's a lot going on with the Browns. I think the attention on Shedeur is hurting Cleveland more than it's helping it. But hey, we always have these situations when it comes to individuals who have been pushed to be in a certain lane and have a certain name, and that's just how it goes. Big T, what up, man? Shout out to you, bro. Good to see you. Good to see you. Cover Noah. Yo, speaking of Noah, and for those who don't know, you should know. If you don't know Noah, we interviewed Noah a while back. He got famous, for his last name. I'm not gonna mention it, but y'all know who I'm talking about if you know. If you don't know, there's this kid from Iowa. He plays football and basketball. He recently just he just actually stepped out of high school. Now he's moving on to Eastern Michigan. He'll be playing is it DB defensive back, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, no, if you watch this later, bro. It's been a while, but yeah, we'll see what's going on with Noah. He's selling jerseys right now, and it's so funny because I was just talking about this. So Noah is selling jerseys right now, and I've been waiting. To see if I'm actually gonna go ahead and buy one. But it's fun because it's funny to me. It's really funny to me, and I want to see the whole joke behind this thing because I do think it's funny as far as with the last name and how people are going to respond to it. But he's selling jerseys right now. He's signing them. He's selling them right now. I seen on a website it was like $75. You can get his signed jersey, which I'm probably going to pick one up. I want to see the kid succeed. I want it to be more than just him going viral for his last name. I do think he's talented from what I've seen on his tapes and everything like that. And beyond the talent and the last name, I think he's a good kid. He's focused on school, great GPA, great family from what I know of. And, he's an overall good kid. So, check him out. Noah Kanega, spelled Knigga. Go check him out. He's a good kid. Shout out to Lisa, says, don't even get me started. I'm angry how my friend JT was released. I guess I'll get used to Tyler Loop. Yeah, that's a whole nother situation with the Saints that we'll get into as well, speaking of Tyler's. G Wolf says, what's wrong with the Browns? A lot. There's a lot. You got a lot of quarterbacks over there. You got a lot of hype. You got a lot of craziness going on. We won't really know as far as who's going to be put in what kind of situation until, obviously, we get through minicamp and all that and get to the preseason. So there's a lot. Speaking of teams and covering teams and all that kind of stuff, you guys know that every August we do no, not August, July. Every July we do our 32 and 31 where we'll cover all 32 teams in 31 days. So, yes, doesn't change. The train keeps going. We will cover all 32 teams in 31 days. So we'll make that happen when it's supposed to happen in July. That's always fun, always a good time. It's a lot of work, but I love it. We go through each team. We talk about the depth chart. We talk about the schedules. Once those are out, which those should be out soon, we'll probably go live for that as well. We'll go through the team schedules week by week. And then obviously heading into July, we'll do the 32 and 31 covering all teams. So, Derek Carr retired. Now, I kind of get it. Injuries and stuff like that. It's kind of a big thing, We see the same kind of situation with Andrew Luck, right? Kind of, did really well. not really past his prime, kind of, retired in his prime. Um, Derek Carr, for me, I think he's had some good moments, but for the most part, his career just hasn't been what it could have been. Is that due to coaching? Is that due to talent? That's something that we're going to have to address soon. But with that said, anytime a player decides to retire because of being injured or having those kind of complications, it's sad to see it happen because I will never really know unless he decides to come back. But he says that he's retiring so that he can focus on his family, right? Focus on his life, well, focus on his health as well. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing but respect for Derek Carr. I wish him the best. And we'll just have to see as far as what's going to happen with the Saints. Shout out to Spencer Rattler. Was it Tyler's show? Tyler's show over there. He's probably going to be the next man up, so we'll see what he does with the Saints. If not, Spencer Rattler is your, I think, second in command. But it's still too early to figure that out. Like I said, I don't like really talking about the whole depth chart thing until July. July, August, when we start getting into preseason and all that kind of stuff, because it just doesn't make sense. But for the Saints right now, they're in a terrible spot, right? You don't have Derek Carr. You've got three quarterbacks who you really don't want to see out there as your starter. So I do think that, the Saints are going to try and pick up somebody as a veteran to come in there and, help mold these guys and shape that, that quarterback room into something. It's going to have to happen eventually, but for right now, the Saints are in a weird spot. But I'll keep you guys updated as far as that. I'm actually working on a video for that as well, where we'll cover all three of those quarterbacks for the Saints. So we'll figure it out. Shout out to Shantae. What up? What's going on with you? Kenny says, Cam Ward reminds me of Anthony Edwards for some reason. I think Ward is going to be a dog and a great player. Yeah, shout out to Cam Ward, right? Holding it down, keeping his head down, number one pick. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to do good things. I'm excited to see what he does. He's another one, though, right? Those first-round draft picks always have the issue of coming into the league and having those expectations. But I do feel that the benefit for Cam Ward right now is he wasn't getting all the attention like first-round draft picks normally do, because all the attention was on, Shedeur Sanders. So I think for Cam, it's easy for him to just keep his head down, stay focused, grind it out, go to work. And then when it matters the most, you show up, in mini camp and preseason. And, I think at that point, that's going to kind of be the telltale as far as, what we can expect from Cam Ward. So, I'm excited to see what he does as well. That's going to be huge. But yeah, so there it is. Shout out to Safari. What up? What's going on with you? Sub Jay? You did a great interview with him. I also hope he does well, but I'm not a Browns fan. Yeah, shout out to Noah. I definitely hope he does well for sure. Shade says, you think they might try to pick up Aaron Rodgers? I mean, he's not with the Steelers. So, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is in this weird spot. I think I think he's in this weird spot because who wants to deal with the attitude? Who wants to deal with the diva antics? We know that Aaron Rodgers comes with, and you have to pay him money, right? Who's got the money for Aaron Rodgers right now, and who wants to deal with that? I think that's the real question. It could be the Saints, right? They may be able to pull it off, but you have to, take the good with the extremely bad, and there's not really much good left, if you know what I'm saying. Now, and the big problem for me is Aaron Rodgers isn't the kind of quarterback that's going to go in there and teach these young guys what to do. He's not going to spend his time molding, these guys to take his job. We already know that's not his kind of focus. That's not where his ambition is, right? He's there for the check. He's there to prove that he's still Aaron Rodgers and that he has that chip on his shoulder. So, and it's sad to say because, we all respect and love Aaron Rodgers for the quarterback that he is and for his talent. But I think now at this point, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, he's just not in gear at the point of, okay, I'm going to go into an organization and be able to help mold some of the younger guys so they can take over when I leave. It's, he's going to want to be the star of the show. And I'm just not sure the Saints want that as far as they're in their culture and in their atmosphere. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see. So, speaking of quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence, you get Travis Hunter, right? Another great name in the draft, a huge pickup. A dual threat, but I do think that they're going to mostly use him as a wide receiver, obviously. I think the problem with Travis Hunter going over to the Jags is I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. I hate to say it. Shout out to you, Shelby. I know I ain't seen you in a minute, but if you watch this later, uh, I don't trust Trevor Lawrence anymore. Right? We're in the fifth year. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Fourth year or fifth year, and Trevor Lawrence has not proved himself, right? There was so much hype coming out of Clemson. There was so much energy. There was so much passion for Trevor Lawrence, and he was supposed to be the one that was going to take these Jaguars. Somebody's going to say, Jay, it's Jaguars. Take these Jags to the promised land. Take these Jags to another trajectory. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And so now I think you run the risk of having Travis Hunter come into this situation where we know what the hell Travis Hunter can do. We know his talent. We know that he's going to be a dog out there. But is Trevor Lawrence going to have the ability to throw him the ball? That offensive line has been terrible. It has been absolutely abysmal. And so you run the risk of wasting talent in Travis Hunter by hoping that Trevor Lawrence can finally use this individual who is going to be great wherever he goes. Is the talent going to be wasted, or is Trevor Lawrence finally going to get this golden piece that is going to help, these Jags do what they need to do? This is a real question. This is a real problem. I'm actually going to make a video about this soon as far as Trevor Lawrence, but that's kind of the narrative and the theme that I'm going with. Is Trevor Lawrence overrated? Is he going to be, capable of using such a talent in Travis Hunter, or is Travis Hunter going to be a waste in Jacksonville? Defensive issues, the offensive line is plagued, and Trevor Lawrence is injury prone now, right? That's a big conversation. It's going to be a big problem, so I do think it's a lot to discuss. Vinny T, what up? Says Trevor has no excuses this time, and that's the problem. There's no more excuses. You can't put any more excuses on your coach. You can't put any more excuses on your wide receivers. You have to get out there as a veteran and figure out how to win with what you have. And now you've been giving a proper tool to get the job done, right? A lot of teams would have loved to have Travis Hunter. I'm sure the Bills would have. Well, Jay, they got Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakur. If Josh Allen had Travis Hunter, that would be his deep threat. You wouldn't hear no complaints out of me. I'd be so excited. So I think for the Jags, right, they're super excited about, Trevor Lawrence having him, but I do feel like they're worried about Trevor Lawrence. I think that's the problem. So, I think getting into the Jags and understanding as far as their dynamic and what's going to happen with that squad, that's going to be huge and a topic that we do need to cover in full depth. And we will. We'll cover all that. And I'll keep you guys updated. But that's where my mind is right now, right? As far as Trevor Lawrence, it's kind of scary if you're a Jags fan because, Trevor hasn't really panned out. And I think he just re-signed a contract extension, $275 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. $275 million through 2030. And you ain't been balling out. It's a lot of money. I know that quarterbacks have to get paid, but I'm still wondering why Trevor Lawrence was able to get another $300 million until 2030 and not be productive besides maybe 2 playoff games. It's kind of crazy. Says BTJ and Travis Hunter would be a top 10 we do on the field. Yeah, but Trevor has to get him the ball. That's the reality of it. They're going to be a threat. But imagine that you're sitting there as a fan, as a coach, as the staff, as the ownership, and you're watching, Travis Hunter kill these routes and create great separation. And the next thing you know, Trevor Lawrence throws a pick or he's overthrowing them because they just don't have the proper chemistry. And not because of Travis Hunter, but because of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, yeah, you've had, Kirk, you've had Ridley, but you haven't really had this dynamic presence that you're going to have when Travis Hunter comes there. That's going to be a whole different ballgame. So, and I'm sure it's going to be a little different for, Travis Hunter too, because he's got to get up to NFL speed and things like that. But I think he's going to do it a lot faster than most. And I think he's going to shine on that field. And so the question isn't, is Travis Hunter going to be able to live up to Trevor Lawrence's standard? It's going to be the reverse. Is Trevor Lawrence going to be able to stand up to or live up to, Travis Hunter's standard? And so that's going to be the conversation moving forward. That's going to be the conversation moving forward. So shout out to you, Vinny T. Shout out to you, Shanti. Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Without a doubt, we appreciate all of you. All of you. Lisa says, what's your take on the Ravens getting Malachi Starks and Mike Green? I gotta look it over. I really haven't had a chance to truly break down the draft. I've been super busy with stuff. But like I said, I'm waiting until July. We do our 32 and 31 in July. We break everything down. I have a real good chance as far as breaking everything down, as far as the depth charts and the superstars and who's going to do what and who I think is going to be, great out of the draft and who's going to, stand out. So make sure you're here in July. You know how we do. Safari says, I saw online that the Serrano and Taylor fight is supposed to happen in July. Will you be live streaming it? Yes. So we got in. Well, I've been in boxing my whole life, but with the channel, we got into boxing mostly after the Tyson fight. That was huge. We had like 14,000 people in here. It was absolutely insane. We had a great time. And even though we were robbed with the Tyson and Paul fight, that Taylor and Serrano fight was the magic of the night. And it just happened to be two women who fought their ass off. And to me, it made me go back and look at their previous fights and made me go back and look at their history as far as, who they are and, what they've been doing as far as their careers. And I'm looking forward to this will be their third rematch. And, yeah, we're definitely streaming that. When we talked about like boxing, like they just had the Canelo fight. That was terrible. They were running around the ring and, Canelo wasn't taking it serious. But for some reason, it's like the big names, we don't get those kind of fights. It's the Taylor and Serrano where they're just beating the hell out of each other and going the distance, and you're getting your money's worth every round. And so, yeah, we'll be streaming that. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it for sure. For sure. Cooper Rush is with the Ravens. I hope nothing happens, LJ, but in case it does, he's there. So I do like Cooper Rush. He had his moments with Dallas. I think, Lamar will be fine. Lamar, we know how the situation goes with running quarterbacks. They're not designed to last. But I do think with the way that the NFL is set up now, is giving a little more longevity to the running quarterbacks, and it's almost like the league is being made for them. So I'm not too worried about Lamar. He does have, his injury issues per se. But, if something were to happen to Lamar, Cooper Rush coming in could be, a decent bet, for the Ravens fans. Plus, you've got, some good individuals over there. You've got Bateman, Likely's over there. The young kid. I'm not thinking. I'm not all the way football ready yet, y'all. You know who I'm talking about. The young kid. Why am I drawing a blank? I was saying this kid's name all season. I can't remember it. I am not football ready. So, just so you guys know. How about them Celtics, though? How about them Celtics and them Cavaliers? But yeah, I do think Cooper Rush, he'll be good over there. Different atmosphere. And, I think he'll be away from Jerry Jones, so that'll give him. Yeah, Zay Flowers. There we go. Zay Flowers. I think Cooper Rush going over there is going to be good for him as far as a different atmosphere. Getting away from Jerry Jones, he'll have the ability to kind of relax. Maybe be himself a little bit more. I think him competing not with Dak, but I think when you go to Dallas, you're competing with Jerry Jones and just how he feels more than what your talent displays. And that's not to say that Cooper Rush isn't a backup quarterback because he is, but I think there's a big difference between someone who's just a backup quarterback and someone who's a really good backup quarterback. And I think Cooper Rush is a really good backup quarterback that should be utilized in more situations. So, Ricardo, what up, man? Shout out to you. Shout out to you. What do you think about the George Pickens trade? So, I got a problem with it because I'm not sure if the coaching in Dallas is really going to be able to tame Pickens the way that the Steelers would have had a better opportunity to. And I say that because you've already got the diva in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we already know how this works. When you have a diva wide receiver who's a superstar, right? Because we have to give the flowers where they're due. CeeDee Lamb is a superstar, so the expectations are already very high coming out of, that locker room with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So then you bring over, Pickens. You're now running into the young cowboy, pun intended, right? The young cowboy in Pickens. And so I do think there's going to be some chemistry issues. I do think there's going to be some locker room drama. And unfortunately, we've seen the situations where CeeDee Lamb was kind of calling out Dak Prescott like, hey, I'm here, you throwing the ball over there. Or this is what the call. Like, there were some situations last season where we've seen CeeDee Lamb kind of calling out Dak Prescott because, they weren't on the same page. So now you're putting George Pickens into that conversation? You're putting Pickens into that situation? I don't know. So, yeah, it's gonna be some serious questions. What up, Gino and Joseph? How you doing? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. So yeah, like I said, with Pickens, it's just one of those situations where if the coaching can work with him, they can, tame attitudes and create some cohesive energy in that locker room, then yeah, they would probably have a hell of a good wide receiver corp for Dak Prescott. But I think the big problem is too many egos. It's too many egos. And with Pickens, I think, he needs to be on a team where, he can kind of shine, right? He can kind of have that ability to shine. And over there, you're not going to shine. There's too much ego over there. Pickens reminds me kind of like Neighbors, right? Neighbors is the guy on the Giants right now. He's that guy. And it's respected, right? So on the flip side, you look at Pickens, he needed to be on a team where he could be that guy. So, I could be completely wrong. It could be a great thing for the Cowboys. And I'm not saying that Pickens isn't talented because we know that he is. I just think when you look at the chemistry issues and when you look at the problems that happen within the Cowboys itself, not even from Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but from a point of Jerry Jones and his involvement and just how toxic everything is over there, bringing another wide receiver that has such an ego in that situation, it sounds like a powder keg to me. And it just sounds like it's going to be a problem. Now, I could be wrong. It could be the key spark that offense needs, and they could go crazy. But we've been doing this for a while now, and I'm pretty good at this, y'all know. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. Who's a fan of everyone in here? Bills Mafia, bro. I'm a fan of Bills Mafia, but we cover all 32 teams. Lisa says, don't you think George Pickens is a spoiled little brat? I think all wide receivers are spoiled little brats, right? The expectations of give me the ball. If I don't get the ball, I'm going to whine about it. I'm going to showboat. I'm the best out there no matter what. Um, Most wide receivers don't really become humble until, 6, 7 years in, if they last, right? And they normally only last if they're talented to last. And that's kind of where they, tone it down a little bit and they just stick to their job and they make their money. So, I'm not mad at wide receivers because that position comes with the ego. And I'm not saying that wide receivers should have an ego, because you shouldn't. You should be humble and play your game and go out there and make your check. But at the end of the day, I get it, right? It's a position that comes with, having an ego. So I respect it for the most part. Some players are able to keep it in check. But someone like Pickens, yeah, he's a little brat sometimes, But every wide receiver is that has talent and balls out. That's just the reality of the game. Just the reality of the game. Shout out to Ogv. What up? Good to see you. Good to see you. Since I'm an Eagles fan, they're the most hated fan base, but that's my team. Listen, it's all good. We cover all 32 teams over here. We've got 73,000 subscribers, all from different teams. So it's all love. No matter who you're a fan of over here, it's always a good time. So, Eagles do get a lot of hate. They do get a lot of hate. And I will say, some stuff is a little crazier that be happening in Philly. We know, just like the Cowboys. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on, in Dallas. But we rock with everybody. We rock with everybody. Everybody ain't a crazy bad fan. Everybody ain't a fanatic. We know how it go. But we take people as they are, So it's always a good time. Says I've been an Eagles fan ever since they traded Saquon. Okay. So you're a newer Eagle fan. All right, cool. Who were you a fan of before? Says I love the matchup Eagles versus Ravens because the birds versus the birds theme. Yeah, the dirty birds. The dirty birds. Lisa says Ravens all the way. Safari the building. Fins up. I see you, Safari. Yeah, that's another one. What's going on with the Dolphins? We got a lot to cover, y'all. We got a lot to cover. We ain't gonna be able to cover it all in one day. But what's going on with Tua? What is the expectations there? Tyreek Hill is apologizing and stuff. That's not what you like to see in your star wide receiver. I think Tyreek Hill is now coming to the point where he's starting to come down from his prime, and so yeah. I think the Dolphins are in this weird little situation too. There's a lot of uncertainty this season, and we got to cover it all. So, Gino says, I was a Giants fan only because of Saquon. I never even cared about the Giants. I just love Saquon. That's why I love the Giants. All right, shout out to you. So you're more of a player fan. So no matter where he goes, you're a fan of. I respect it. There's a lot of people, for instance, like Tom Brady, right? Wherever Tom Brady went, they followed. That's why there were so many Bucs fans that never existed until Tom Brady went there. So I respect it. Shout out to Saquon. V's, love to hear from you. Hope we get a new champ this year, not KC. Yeah, I think there's a lot more parity in the league for sure. So, will there be a new champ this year? It's possible. We got a new champ last year. So, yeah, it's definitely possible. Everyone said that it was one thing was written and, things changed and, the conspiracy and, they changed the script at the last minute. Listen, Kansas City got their ass whooped, all right? I don't think it was in the script to make Kansas City look that bad. I think the Eagles were ready. I think the Eagles were were slept on. And to be honest, I definitely slept on the Eagles for sure because at the end of the day, I don't think nobody really seen, the Eagles coming and doing what they did, especially to the Commanders. Now, granted, I think the Saquon pickup was the key piece. That was the missing piece. And so fortunately for them, listen, the Giants played stupid. They got rid of one of the best wide running backs. They got rid of one of the best running backs in the league, and they didn't make the best decision. And unfortunately for the Giants, they've not been making really good decisions. Just like they had the opportunity to get Jaden Daniels and didn't do that, and then they let Saquon go. So, I think there's a lot of people raising their eyebrows when it comes to the Giants because they've been incapable of making good decisions. And that's the reality of it. So when you don't make good decisions, you allow another team to capitalize off your mistakes. The Eagles did that, and it's got them, it's got them in a good situation, and it's gave Saquon his ring. So things work out for people when their time comes. Fortunately for Saquon, it was the best timing for him ever in his career. And, he's at the top of the world right now, loving life. So I respect it. I respect it. Says, I don't really care about any teams. When they say, okay, I read that. Says, go away, Taylor Swift. I'm sick and tired of looking at you. I think the Taylor Swift hype train has slowed down. I think it's slowed down. I think at the end of the day, we're not looking at, seeing too much of Taylor Swift much longer, especially if Travis Kelce decides to retire and move on. So there you go. There you go. But shout out to you guys. I wanted to hop on, just talk some football with you. I got to get out here and cut the grass and stuff and enjoy what's left of this nice Sunday before it's over. But much love to the Wrench Gang. Much love to the family. I appreciate all of you, even the new watchers. If you're not a part of the channel, make sure you do subscribe. Hit that like button. Videos coming up soon. We'll be talking about Trevor Lawrence. Is he overrated? We'll get into that more in depth. We'll also break down the Saints quarterback situation with Derek Carr retiring. It's going to be crazy. We need to talk about that. And then obviously whatever new trending stuff that happens as the weeks go by, you know how we do. We'll talk about it. We'll chop it up. In the meantime, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all soon. Have yourselves a great Sunday. Peace out.